This episode of Titan Talk is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Do you know a podcast fan? Tweaked Audio headphones make the perfect holiday gift. For awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com. Use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off plus free shipping and a lifetime warranty. You can also get there through the link southgatemediagroup.com.
Titans, go!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. I'm Charles Skaggs, back in Titans Tower once again with my favorite Titan Talker, everybody's favorite Titan Talker, Jesse Jackson.
I am so thrilled to be here with my favorite Titan Talker, the wonderful...
Is he bigger than me?
The wonderful and charming Charles Skaggs, one of my best podcast partners. And we have a good one to talk about today.
Oh, you enjoyed this one. I'm guessing you're vaguely hinting that you enjoyed it.
Yes, I did. Double your pleasure, double your fun. 2 Robins are better than 1.
Ooh, look at you. All right. So, yeah, we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about Jason Todd. We're going to talk about the character, but that's also the title of the episode. I'm not sure why they're naming titles of episodes after people.
They sure are, aren't they?
But okay, apparently we couldn't come up with anything more clever than Jason Todd.
Doom Patrol,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, put a little more effort into it, guys. It's okay. Episode 6 of Titan Season 1, as we're kind of we've kind of hit the halfway mark on this. This aired just a few days ago on November 16th, 2018. Written by Richard Hatem, or Hatem. I like to think of Hatem because it sounds better. And Jeffrey David Thomas. This was directed by Carol Banker. So we have a new writer and a new director on this series. And I'm definitely looking forward to getting your thoughts on this. So what's your general thoughts on this before we get into our guest cast for the week?
I liked it, and as right before you called me, or when I called you back because you called me once, I was running a few minutes late, I was getting a fresh cup of coffee, and I was thinking...
Damn good coffee.
Yes, and hot. That this was... For what it was a perfect episode, and I will explain why when we get to a deeper thought. But for the story they're wanting to tell, and this specific character interactions, this was done perfectly from my thought.
Okay. Well, today's topics I want to just really quickly overview before we get started. We're going to talk about Dick and Jason in our first topic, and then we're going to talk about Tony and Nick Zucco in our second topic, and a.k.a. the Melting Man. And then the third topic, I want to talk about Corey in this episode.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
Sounds perfect.
All right. So we're going to talk first. Let's go into our guest cast this week. Obviously, we get the return of Curran Walters as Jason Todd, the second Robin. And finally get a full episode with him as opposed to the cameo that we got when he made his debut last week. And he's going to be a very interesting character. And he already is, I think. We get the return of Reed Birney as the messenger, a.k.a. Dr. Adamson. And the return of Tommaso Sanelli as young Dick Grayson. Now, New to the cast are Kyle Mack, who played Nick Zucco, a.k.a. the Melting Man. You might have seen him before if you watched the 2013 remake of the movie Carrie, based on the Stephen King novel. He played a character named Kenny, as in, oh my God, they killed Kenny. And then he also played a character named Kupak Tar, one of the Tars on sci-fi series Defiance. And he was also on Dark Matter, another sci-fi series, as a character named Chase. So that's maybe where you've seen him before. And then we had Richard Zeppieri as Tony Zucco, the murderer of Dick Grayson's parents. You may have seen him if you were a fan of the really obscure sci-fi series back in the day, Earth Final Conflict. He played a character named Frank Tate. And he was on episodes of Suits and Covert Affairs on USA. And then we had Lester Speight as Clayton Williams. He's been in some interesting projects. He played a character named Eddie in Transformers Dark of the Moon, so actual big budget motion picture. He played a character named Herman in the Marvel one-shot All Hail to the King. That was one of those that was released with one of the Marvel movies as a kind of like bonus short story. And that was the one with the Mandarin, or at least the guy purporting to be the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley.
Right.
So he's in that one. And he was also in the movie Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay, which I thought was kind of funny because it's pretty good comedy series that if you're kind of into I'm blanking on the actor's name, who is Doogie Howser.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris. Thank you very much. It's still a little early for me on a Sunday. So
I understand.
With me. But yeah, he's in that, and Cal Penn, I believe, is in it. So so check that out. So that's our guest cast for this week.
And of course, Terry Tate, office linebacker.
Oh, you're from those commercials. Yeah,
yes.
You're talking about Lester Speight. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was in those series of commercials, if you remember that.
They were so funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and by the way...
So did you recognize him right off the bat from those commercials?
No, I did not notice it until I went to IMDb just this moment and saw that.
That guy.
And now I want to rewatch it to it sure is.
Yep.
I do want to, before we get too much further into the episode, Charles is passing up breakfast with his lovely bride to coordinate with me. I've got family coming over for the Cowboy game. It's a noon kickoff, and so I appreciate your flexibility as always, Charles.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm just trying to help you out. Hey, it's the holidays, so.
Absolutely.
All right, as we get into the holiday season, so let's talk about our first topic, birds of a feather. So I'll let you know if you can't quite get the theme off the bat.
Okay. But
birds of a feather is our first topic. And this is what I want to talk about, obviously, Dick and Jason, the two Robins. And or Robin and Robin 2.0, as Jason likes to refer to himself. That I want to get your thoughts on these two characters because obviously this is the main storyline that drives this episode. And there's a lot to unpack here. Because we have Dick coping with the fact that he's been replaced and then turning around and trying to advise Jason on how to be a Robin. So I want to get your thoughts on that. What did you think about these two characters?
I really enjoyed them. And I don't know why. I had a problem with the Doom Patrol because I felt like we were taking an unnecessary stop. Even though it was an enjoyable stop.
Right.
I guess from my perspective...
It's kind of the same thing here.
It is, but it felt like a more seamless addition. Like, I felt like we were still moving the story. Though when I pull it aside, no, it isn't. We got a whole new villain, and, It was kind of its own adventure.
Yes. It's more like a little pit stop along the way.
Yes. So as I said, I was sitting here and I went to get coffee and I saw that I missed your call, and so I went to call you back. But I was thinking, this episode is the way it worked. It just fits with this character. At first, I was really happy to see Jason Todd.
Right.
I really enjoyed his enthusiasm, his kind of naive poking, making, irritating Dick because of all the things he's talking about.
Right.
Like, oh, it's like we're driving the Batmobile, and Bruce like, and Dick's like, you drove the Batmobile? All these things that
just
I don't...
kind of pushing Dick's buttons a little bit.
Yeah, without meaning to. I don't think he meant to totally, maybe partly.
Right. Just kind of clueless about it.
Yeah, and then at the end, when there's the big fight with the cops, I'm because I'm at this point, before that happened, I'm like, man, I really think these two will get well together, and they're brothers,
right?
And they have a common bond, and no one else can understand what's going on. Oh my goodness, Jason is killing police officers, or at least wounding them.
I think it was just severely beating them up. I don't think Dick would have stood for the fact that he was killing them.
But he moved the guns a couple of times.
Right, he didn't. Yeah.
And so you're just like, oh my goodness, this guy is at least a little bit of a psychopath.
A little bit.
Yeah, and oh my goodness, this is horrible. And I was just shocked, even though I have the comic background. I understand how hated the Jason Todd character was, originally, and and they voted to kill him with the famous 800 number. But it was just, I was lulled into this sense of, look, there's two Robins, and like, oh my goodness, where Dick's like, no, you can't behave this way.
Now it's kind of interesting though, because since you brought it up, that reaction, because remember, up till now, Dick's kind of been the one out of control a little bit. Not so much toward the cops, but toward the criminals. So I'm wondering if Jason's behavior is going to make Dick reevaluate his life.
I think it will, and I also think...
I'm hoping it will.
Yeah, he talked a little bit about that, where he says... this suit changes you. This suit, Batman teaches you other things.
Right.
And I really like that thought because we've talked about that. We have said that he's trying to break out of this very unhealthy mode he's in.
Right.
He is very much trying to be different. And, and we talked about, I thought they did a good job of showing us that he's reluctant to put on the suit because the suit, he becomes a different kind of person when he wears it.
Right.
Which I think is why he will ultimately be Nightwing. So I think this showed again, this is an ugly mirror to Dick, saying you don't want to be this anymore. You don't want to do this at all. So yeah.
Yeah. As Jesse adjusts his microphone.
Yes, sorry.
That's all right. So I totally agree because I think Dick keeps emphasizing the suit.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, that as long as he's in this Robin suit, he's going to be this person. And I think this is one of the reasons, or one of the things that's the catalyst to help him evolve into his Nightwing persona, is that he feels he needs a different suit.
Yes.
Maybe if he gets a different suit, he'll be a different person. And here at the end of this episode, there was this very important line where Corey's asking him, well, how many Robins should I expect? And Dick pauses for a second and dramatically, and he says, none. So, translation, he's giving up being Robin, I think, after this point.
I agree.
So I think we may have seen the last of Brenton Thwaites in the Robin costume at this point. I think we have Dick is going to be probably just Dick Grayson until maybe the series or the season finale. Excuse me, season finale. And I think that when he becomes Nightwing, and I think it'll be this fresh break. So I think he's done with Robin at this point. I think he's seen what it's doing to Jason, and on top of everything else, his own baggage. And I think it's going to be this right here is his break from that permanently.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's just they've done a really good job of setting this up. And I know we've discussed that some of our fans some of the show's fans and Titan fans,
right,
do not like the idea of how violent the show is and how this is not their Dick Grayson. But I think this is the journey they want to show, and
right.
I think it is. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think I've really liked how they're doing this.
Now I'm kind of wondering where they're going to take Jason's character after this.
Yeah.
Because Dick's obviously going to have concerns about Jason being in the role.
Yes.
And so is he going to go to Bruce and voice these concerns? Or is just something going to happen to Jason off camera, say the events in a death in the family,
mm-hmm.
where Jason gets killed by the Joker with a crowbar as a result of that 1-900 number. And maybe we'll get Tim Drake at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like something happens to Jason, he dies, and then they bring in Tim Drake, who's a much more, much more stable Robin.
Yeah.
To kind of interact with Dick's Nightwing.
My hope is no, and the reason why is I think it was a little confusing.
Yeah.
Doing 3 different Robins, and there's a lot of reasons why they did that. I mean, for licensing reasons and story reasons. So I like this idea of the universe maybe just sticking to right now Jason Todd, and
okay.
but I don't know, and especially since for whatever reasons they cannot show Batman, or they've chosen not to for whatever reason, be it rights issues or whatever. I don't think they need to address that. I think the important thing is Dick got to see a mirror of himself, and he does not like what he sees even more. So that was good.
Yeah, another thing I found interesting is that this episode is essentially what we probably would have gotten, something pretty close to this, had we actually gotten a Nightwing series,
mm-hmm.
a Nightwing TV series, where it's just the emphasis is on Dick Grayson, so we get to kind of see maybe a taste of what that would be like, would feel like. And so if you're a Dick Grayson fan, if you're a Robin fan, Nightwing fan, you probably really enjoyed this episode a lot, because it really got to dive deep into his character. And then we also got the flashback 15 years ago, where we got to see Dick Grayson attending the funeral of his parents. And there are several members of the Haley Circus there, including the strongman Atlas, who plays Clayton, a.k.a. Clayton Williams, who was essentially kind of like a mentor to Dick Grayson, and apparently was the one left in charge of him until Bruce Wayne came along. So I want to get your thoughts on that a little bit.
So I don't know if it bothered you, but it bothered me, Bruce not being at the funeral.
Right.
I mean, it just seems like they should have even thrown a line, where'd Bruce go?
Yeah.
And he said, well, he wanted to give me a few minutes alone with you guys or something. It just,
I thought it would have been good if they would have showed, like, do what they've been doing and show a guy in silhouette, like watching from the shadows, perhaps.
Yeah.
From a distance, because that would be Bruce watching from a distance.
Yeah.
And if they had just spent like a couple seconds showing that, I think it would have been a lot better because, yeah, you would think Bruce would make the effort to be there, especially to console Dick.
Absolutely. Um, I really liked the
Clayton?
interaction. Yeah, Clayton. I thought that was really well done. I loved seeing the other members of the circus and seeing how that's a family. That's always at least the impression the comics have given. I do know that in real world, a few years ago, Barnum and Bailey Circus closed.
Right.
And Penn Jillette and Michael Godot, who do the podcast for Penn Sunday School, Penn went to Clown College, and Michael Godot had performed at the circus, and they talked about the experiences and how it was a family, sometimes a dysfunctional family and one they didn't enjoy, but yes. So I love seeing that. I loved the upset, the terror, and the sorrow that Dick saw when he saw his friends being killed, the pictures.
Right.
So I thought that was a really well done, and well done for you. I had not thought of that, but this could have been almost, with a little bit of changing, right, one of the first 2 or 3 episodes of a Nightwing series.
Right.
That, yeah, I mean, I think that's perfect because you're able to see him. This is the transition. This is one of the reasons why he changed.
Right.
So, yeah, really, I had not thought of that, but now that you mention it, I think it's perfect.
Yeah, and we find out that, that with Dick, how they kind of emphasize here in this episode that Dick's life could have been completely different had he remained with Clayton as his guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he would have been a lot poorer.
Yeah.
And that's brought up. Clayton is just happy for Dick when he sees him as adult.
Yes.
Once again, it's just that, hey, you turned out exactly like I'd hoped, and there's no bitterness, no resentment there. He's just happy that Dick's life is the way it is now. Obviously, Dick feels differently. He's got his own drama going on, but he doesn't say anything about it.
No.
And that just, I find it interesting. And so maybe it's kind of forcing Dick to kind of reevaluate his approach about a lot of things, especially his feelings toward Bruce. And Jason kind of brings up some of that too, just like he kind of defends Bruce a little bit against Dick.
Yes.
That Dick brings up that, like, hey, he's trying to turn you into his weapon. And Jason's attitude is just like, dude, what are you worrying about? This is like the best gig ever.
Yeah.
And you should be being Robin is the best thing ever. So obviously coming out a completely different approach. Now, whether who's right and who's wrong, that's going to be up to you, I think, the viewer.
Yeah, and I do love, like I said, we already talked about a little bit, but the whole, well, you have to admit your old costume was a little lame.
Right.
It's like, what?
They look pretty much close, but he's talking about the different fibers. Like, apparently Jason's suit can take more of a punch, and as we find out, it can take acid. That maybe Dick's costume uniform couldn't take.
Yeah.
Like,
awesome.
It was woven with like better fibers, better material. So
yes, it was.
So maybe that'll also encourage Dick to, like, well, maybe I need to upgrade my technology, my suit tech.
Absolutely.
And get something more durable. So maybe that'll help him with his Nightwing uniform at some point.
Yeah.
And then I thought that was just really good as far as like examining these two characters and their contrast and their differences. And I thought they had good chemistry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought they had really good chemistry.
Jason may be a little brother to Dick, almost, sort of, and an obnoxious little brother at times, but a little brother nonetheless. And Dick is very accommodating, I think, to Jason.
He totally was, and I love the. That's why I said I was so shocked at the end, even though
Right.
as a comic reader we knew what kind of person Jason was. There was a nice bonding and a good friendship there.
Yeah.
Um,
They
and
even
you,
they even do Dick, or they do the fist bump. Like
yeah,
there was that like Dick was kind of thinking about it a minute, but then he finally goes, "Okay, here you go," and he doesn't leave Jason hanging. He actually gives him the fist bump.
yeah.
So I thought that kind of spoke a little bit
Oh,
about
perfect. Yeah,
his how he treated Jason. That he
yeah.
was at least reaching out. He wasn't completely shutting him out.
And they had a brotherhood banter.
Right.
You know, I saved
Jay,
you.
Jay,
I'd already saved you, and yeah, it was nice.
and Jason apparently idolized Dick. He thought that,
Yeah,
like, I want to come here. I want to pick your brain. I want to get your, you were the first Robin, and I want to, like, I kind of respect that, I think. So I thought that was
yeah,
good. All right.
absolutely.
Anything else about these two characters before we move on?
Just it was. I don't know if we'll see Jason more this season,
Right.
but I hope he comes back in future seasons.
Maybe he'll show up for, like, this season finale
Yeah.
when they maybe need more allies or something. So
Mhm.
we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of curious. I'd like to see more of the character and see what they do with him next.
I agree.
All right. Topic number 2, Robin's Reckoning. So we have Birds of a Feather and Robin's Reckoning. You think you might get the connection just yet, or no?
They sound like storylines that have been in the comics,
Eh,
but
you're close.
yes.
All right.
Continue.
All right. So this I want to talk about Tony Zucco and his son Nick. And we get the introduction of Tony Zucco, again, Richard Zeppieri, and he's a major character in Dick Grayson's mythos. He's the one who killed the Flying Graysons at the Haley Circus because of not getting protection money from Mr. Haley, and as a result, he decided to teach Haley a lesson and murdered Dick's parents. And so Dick, obviously, once he learns and eventually tracks down and figures out who killed his parents, he's very unhappy about him, confronts Tony Zucco, and as a result, it changes the life of Zucco's son, Nick. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
I thought it was good. It wasn't. It kind of felt like the MacGuffin,
Yeah.
like to drive the story. There wasn't as much in there as I perhaps would have liked to see, but it was okay. I mean, the highlight to me was the two Robins interacting. This was an interesting. I like the whole acid and the kind of crazy guy going after this.
He almost had this kind of Phantom of the Opera vibe to him,
Yes.
with that half mask, and just that, like, well, hey, you ruined my life. So essentially, Dick created a potential recurring arch enemy
Yes.
in Nick, the Melting Man.
What was interesting is, I'm trying to catch up on regular TV.
Yeah.
And so last night I just watched the latest episode of The Flash with Ragdoll. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
That was a great episode, by the way.
it was a great episode. Great special effects. I mean,
Yeah.
creepy special effects. But I was like, hey, kind of similar,
Yeah.
motivation.
Right.
But yeah, it was good. I don't know if the Melting Man is that great of a villain, but it certainly worked in this context. What did you think of him?
Well, I thought it obviously has relevance to Dick Grayson. So I think that in itself is the makings of a potentially good villain. I don't think he's quite there yet. I don't think he's fully cooked as a character yet.
Yeah.
But the fact that, okay, Dick's actions of letting Tony Zucco get murdered by the mob was, just not really doing anything about it, just kind of stands by as Boss Maroney, who was another character from Batman mythos, because Boss Maroney is the character who created Two-Face in a courtroom by throwing acid in his face. So that's kind of a connection to Two-Face here as well. And
I got a Two-Face vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why I think this works for me on because it connects to Dick's background, it connects to Two-Face's background. And as a result, the acid is the connection and is something adopted by Nick Zucco after he's scarred in the process and almost has his own kind of Two-Face. So it's almost like Dick has his own version of Two-Face in The Melting Man.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you remember the Stephen King book and movie Dolores Claiborne.
I did. I mean, I know of it, but I've never read it.
All right. So there is a scene where the Kathy Bates, who's playing Dolores Claiborne, she leads her husband, who has been, spoilers, abusing their child. She makes him mad. He comes running after her. He's drunk, and she leads him into this open well, and he falls. And Linda argues that she didn't do anything. He's the one that got mad. He's the one that got run. He's the one that fell into the pit. She didn't do anything.
Right.
And so I think the argument, Dick didn't. I didn't do anything. You know what?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the thing. Although, in the sense that he did, his deliberate inaction, he stood by. He could have stepped in. And I think that was interesting in the sense that, because I think I think this is the main trauma that's driving Dick's anger, whether he realizes it or not, is that his guilt over this, that the fact that he stood by and did nothing, kind of like with Spider-Man, like when Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he starts off early in his career, he was like being a wrestler and he was making money that way until this one criminal, which he could have stopped at the elevator before escaping, and he's just like, no, I'm good. And then that criminal goes off and kills his Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
So that's the whole, like, with great power comes great responsibility thing that drives Spider-Man. Now here, with Robin, I think it's the fact that he's supposed to be a hero. He's supposed to save people. And he just stands by and lets this person die simply because, hey, he's the guy who killed his parents. So the question is, would his parents approve of that? Is he letting his parents down? Is he letting Batman down? And I think it's creating this guilt, which is transferring into anger.
Yeah, it could be.
That's my theory, anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
Because obviously this is going to weigh on him. This is something that has weighed on him. He hasn't told anyone this. His inaction.
Yeah,
This is like his own private secret.
Yeah, I personally don't think he should worry about it, but I remember why he feels that way. I don't think he should, but right. It's good. I think because he holds himself to a higher standard, he is going to feel that way because he is, he cares and he wants to do the right things. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and especially now that he's seen Jason.
Yes.
The way his cavalier attitude and disrespect toward the police, that maybe it's again causing him to reevaluate his life, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. Good.
All right. Anything else about these characters before we move on?
No, this is it.
Okay. All right. Third topic. Read My Lips. So we had Birds of a Feather, Robin's Reckoning, and Read My Lips. And those are all titles of episodes from Batman the Animated Series.
Nice.
So I thought that was rather fitting, especially the Robin's Reckoning, because Robin's Reckoning was a two-part episode where Robin goes after Tony Zucco.
Yes.
So that was my hint for that. So if
Very
you're a
good.
Batman fan, if you're a Batman animated series fan, you might have caught that.
Love Batman the Animated Series.
Exactly. So read my lips, and this is I want to talk about Corey, who has some scenes with Dick where she gets Dick to open up just a little bit more, and she kind of plays mom to the other Titans, Beast Boy and Raven. And then she has a little scene at the end with Dr. Adamson. So I want to talk about Corey just a little bit here.
So I believe that she and Dick have great chemistry. I have loved their interaction together, like just almost immediately. It
started out very contentiously, and now it's kind of settled in. Yeah.
There is such a great interaction between them, and there's a comfort level, and the idea that she's, how many Robins should we expect, and back and forth. I didn't kill them. I love how quickly they've settled into kind of a friendship, possible relationship.
Right.
Them sleeping together has not freaked either one of them out. So I really like their relationship. I'm sorry, listeners. I am going to say I hate how she dresses.
Right.
I just don't understand.
They finally got her in a different outfit.
Yes, they did. Yes, she did in a different.
But it's also something that just really stands out.
Yeah.
And she's still wearing the coat, so I don't know.
I just wish it. Anyway, doesn't work for me. But anyway, everything else about Corey, I am loving. I love her kind of taking a leadership, a mother role with the other two. You know, sit, do this. No, I just.
You notice how quickly that Beast Boy and Raven kind of just snapped to attention there.
I just love their interactions. Raven
I can understand because it's like, well, she saw Corey Crispy Fry Nuclear Dad, so maybe she has more respect for Corey, I think. But yeah, they kind of like hut to really pretty quickly there when she called him to the carpet.
Yeah.
That was a fun scene, I thought.
Oh, such a fun scene.
Yeah. And she did get to, like I said, she got Dick to open up a little bit because he confides in her that he's struggling to get used to the idea of being replaced. Mm-hmm. So they are actually, they're talking about this, and of all the Titans, she's the one that he's reaching out to a little bit and opening up to a little bit. It's probably not as much as she would like, but at least it's coming somewhere. And there's that kind of, that trust that's starting to form between these two characters, I think.
Yeah.
And Jesse's typing away furiously at something.
Yeah, sorry. I like this. I liked her. And I'm a little bit. How about you? I kept being nervous when they showed Dick in the bathroom taking out his tracker, which
we didn't really talk about that, but we should.
That's a weird. That's very, very much what Batman does. He controls people, and I love the two difference of Jason going, he's doing that to protect us, and Dick's like, no, he's doing it to control us. But
I like the way they structured that scene.
Yeah.
Where he's talking to Corey, and he's not really hinting what he's doing.
No.
He's openly like surgically removing this tracker from his arm. He's cutting open his own arm, and he's just kind of like talking to Corey, like, well, hey, so what's going on with the family?
Yeah.
And then she tells him, well, hey, they're dead. And so naturally we get back to the kind of teasing that like, well, you killed them. So he's like, no, I didn't kill them.
I didn't, I promise.
Yeah, so that was fun.
What I really liked is the whole, how do I put this? I'm watching this, and the angle shows the the doctor on the floor.
Yes.
And I kept waiting for him to wake up.
I did too.
Just that, how they'll do that.
I thought he'd turn around and go, "Hi, what's good?"
Yes, and he would shoot, but they never did.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they shot it that way. Maybe they wanted us to worry about it. But I was like, okay, he's busy cutting himself, and we're gonna go, and he's gonna rise up or. Something.
I was waiting for her to go back to the shower and him not be there.
Yes, I was too.
Yeah,
totally.
But she's the one that she goes over there and kicks him up to wake him up, and he's first thing out of his mouth, he's asking where Rachel is, and she tells him like, well, it doesn't matter because you're not getting anywhere near her. And then he tells Corey that, well, you can do anything you want to me. You can even kill me if you want. But I'm not talking to anybody but Rachel. So what do you think about that?
I thought that was a little bit creepy.
Right.
I've loved this actor, the way he's played the
Reed
guy.
Birney, yeah.
Yeah, just this very matter of fact.
It was kind of a contrast because I'd watched him on A House of Cards as this kind of like very meek and mild, good-natured vice president.
Mm-hmm.
And here he is playing just this completely different character and kind of like a sociopath almost a little bit. And I find it really intriguing. Reed Birney, I thought he was really good in that.
Yeah, I think he was really good. I agree. So yeah, I thought I'm kind of curious what's going to happen next.
Right. It looks like next week we're going to get back to the main mystery of the guys trying to get Rachel. Yeah. And it looks like Dr. Adamson kind of gets back in charge of things again.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's good, but I really, this was Jason and Dick's story. It was well done.
Right.
I love that they're slowly building the mythos.
Yes.
Of this world, so good stuff.
Yeah, and they incorporated a lot of stuff from the comics, like the whole business where Jason he steals the hubcaps off the Batmobile.
He did mention that, didn't he?
That was that kind of reworked origin that they came up with just after the Batman Year One miniseries by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli, where they kind of reworked him because Jason up until then had been kind of a Dick Grayson clone. He was at the circus, his parents died, yada yada. And here they kind of reinvented him as this kind of street rat who encountered Batman first by stealing the hubcaps off the Batmobile.
Mm-hmm.
And I was glad to see them use that in this series.
I was too. I always think that
it's very faithful to his character.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I like that a lot. All right. Anything else about this episode before we move into favorite quotes?
No. Did you have any thoughts about the whole tracking, except that it was weird, but very appropriate to kind of how they've been writing Batman lately?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that, Jason apparently was aware of the tracker, that he's got a tracker, but Dick wasn't. Dick apparently says he has no memory of it. So did Batman with Dick just kind of knock him out at some point and implant this tracker? That he didn't do that with Jason, he did it openly? I thought that was a very interesting little thing that wasn't really addressed.
Yeah, it wasn't, but it was. It seems, like I said, it's what Batman would do.
Right.
But it is kind of weird that why wouldn't Dick know that?
Yeah.
I mean, was he asleep when he put in that tracker?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I want to kind of know more about what happened with that because it seems like something that they tossed out but didn't really develop.
Right.
And it's kind of something I kind of want to know a little bit more about.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So let's move on to our favorite lines of the episode, unless you had anything else.
Nope.
Did you ever write anything down?
I did want to just in general terms.
Yeah.
The older sibling is always amazed at the stuff the younger brother or sister gets away with.
Right.
Right? Like you'll see that, God, you never made me do that. And, it's a common joke but it's true. Your first kid, you sterilize everything, and by the second or third, you're like,
whatever.
The pacifier, wipe it off your pants leg and stick it back in the kid's mouth.
You feel more confident.
Yeah, so I thought that was really well done because they are brothers. Because of their roles, they are kind of brothers. And the other thing is
kind of like foster brothers.
Yes, and the only other thing is, how does Dick not call Bruce and tell him what's going on with Jason?
Yeah. This lack of involvement by Bruce Wayne when you're talking about all this Dick Grayson and Jason Todd stuff is frustrating.
It is. If they did not touch it at all, but it would be a little bit, I guess then we'd be complaining that they're not, they're totally ignoring it. But it is just, if nothing else, having a one-sided conversation with Alfred.
Yes.
Or and say, hey, Alfred, it's Dick. No, don't transfer me to Bruce. Or leaving a voicemail.
Right.
Like, hey, Alfred, just wanted to catch you. Leave a quick voicemail. I just met Jason. I'm a little worried. You might get with Bruce and have him checked. He seems a little out of control. Right. Miss you. I'll talk to you soon. Something. But yeah. What do we know? All right.
I know. And I'm hoping things will improve once Gotham's off the air.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe then they'll get some more ability to bring Bruce or Alfred at least, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. And I think, Supergirl has covered Superman fairly well. Originally they were talking about, I can take care of this myself. And so by text, he says, okay. I won't happen again. And then later he actually does show up.
Yeah, we see him every so often now.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah. So it'd be nice if we got at least something like that here with Batman.
Yeah. All right. So I only have one quote.
Okay, what's your quote?
But I loved this so much.
Yeah.
Jason, according to Bruce, the design of this place was inspired by Frank Lloyd. And Dick says, right. And Jason says, I know, right? I just love that so much.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, Dick knows about the architect, Frank Lloyd Wright, and Jason apparently is pretty clueless about it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was good. And he actually does that with the painting of Niccolo Machiavelli. So I might as well go ahead and give that quote real quick.
Please.
So for those who don't know, Niccolo Machiavelli was this Italian diplomat, politician, historian, etc. And he's from the Renaissance period and considered to be essentially the father of modern political science. So when Dick recites this quote, apparently it's a very famous quote. And so it's also kind of a controversial quote. So there's this exchange between Jason and Dick where they're looking at the painting that Bruce has on the wall. And Jason says, who's this? And Dick replies, Niccolo Machiavelli. And Jason's like, oh yeah, Bruce has talked about that dude. Sounds like a total savage. And Dick quotes a response, uses Machiavelli's quote. He says, quote, if an injury has to be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. Severities should be dealt out all at once, so that their suddenness may give less offense. Benefits ought to be handed out drop by drop, so that they may be relished the more. So essentially Machiavelli's talking about vengeance here, and which is obviously right up Bruce Wayne's alley.
Yeah, and
And it kind of
Machiavellian.
says a
Yeah,
lot because of Dick's attitude toward Bruce.
yeah, and Machiavellian is actually become, a shorthand of manipulation.
Right.
And I I thought that was a very
That you have
powerful
ulterior
scene.
motives to
Yes,
your agenda.
yes.
Yeah.
So, so Bruce.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I was very, very happy with that scene and the way that we went with this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
And for anyone wondering who the painter was who painted that, it's Santi di Tito.
Okay. Did
So
not
that's
know
the
that.
artist. Yep.
Okay.
Santi di Tito.
So do you have any other
Yeah.
lines?
Yeah, I have other lines. Okay, so I got some more Jason. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Dick and Jason quotes in this episode. The exchange, Dick says, "So how did you and he?" And Jason says, "I was out boosting cars. Guess I chose the wrong one, or the right one." And Dick replies, "You tried to steal the Batmobile?" Jason replies, "No, man, just the hubcaps."
Ah, so sad, so
Yeah,
sad.
but it is very very appropriate for their characters.
Yes.
And then Dick confronts Jason again later about why he wants to be Robin. He says, "Why are you even doing this? Why do you even want to be Robin?" And Jason replies, "Are you kidding? This is the dopest gig ever. Hanging out with Batman, kicking bad guys' asses, being famous, driving the goddamn Batmobile." And Dick replies, "He lets you drive the Batmobile?"
Yeah, that was sad. But funny. I mean, poor Dick, like, what?
Yep,
What? What do you mean?
right.
Yeah, so greatness.
Later, there was a great exchange between Dick and Corey, where Dick says, this is when he was taking out the tracker. He says, "Any update on the family?" And Corey replies, "They're all dead." Dick's like Corey, and also like parent wise, and Corey replies, "I didn't kill them. I just walked in and they were like dead. Their heads exploded." Dick replies, "Hell of a coincidence."
Yeah. I love that. I love them two together.
Yep,
This
they
has
have
been
some good
great.
banner.
Yeah, it is very good banner.
They do
Yes.
banner pretty well. Lastly, I have a kind of one of Dick's final advice to Jason in this episode, where he goes, "Hey, you want my advice? Don't be Robin. All those years Bruce was helping me, he was turning me into a weapon, his weapon. And he may have you convinced that you can get everything you ever wanted, but you can't unlearn what he teaches you, and you can't control it. Believe me, the price is too high."
Yes.
So we'll see what happens with Jason next. I'm guessing we haven't seen the last of that character
Yeah,
on the
I
show.
I hope not. And they are doing a very good job of building their universe.
Yep,
So that's good.
that's good. So what's your rating for this episode?
So I like this one. I think they're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give this 8 out of 10 really bad fake IDs.
That was a good scene.
That was a good scene.
It was kind of like Dick feeling like a little more justified because remember earlier in the episode, Dick was shut out of the safe house. Like his
Yes.
access had been revoked, and Jason's just like, "Here, bro, I got it."
Yeah.
And he does that optical scanner thing, and they get inside. Well, Dick kind of turns around now in this scene, and he gets in because he's older, and Jason
Yes.
has to try to get by with a fake ID, and apparently it was a really bad one.
Yeah, and I did love, Snake Plissken, right?
Yes, yeah, from Escape from New York.
Yeah, I did love how good Jason is, just hung around the back, waited till
Right.
someone was bringing out garbage, and
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
still got
just
in.
slipped in. Yeah,
Yeah, he
very
still got
good.
in. And then immediately he tries to pick a fight with somebody, which I thought was
Yes, just sad.
yeah, it was sad.
And how about you? What's your rating?
My rating, 8.5 underarm trackers.
Ooh, nice.
Thank
Liked
you.
it a little more than I did.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. I thought you'd be a little higher, but I really like this one. I like seeing the interaction between Dick and Jason. I thought it was really good,
Yeah, I agree.
and lots of good stuff. So again, hopefully this will be the meeting Jason and going through all those emotions. Hopefully this will be the thing that gets Dick's Grayson's life on track, finally.
I agree.
Hopefully.
Good.
All right. I do have a little quick Titans Tower news I want to talk about.
Please.
Because we got the premiere date for the upcoming return of Young Justice, the animated series, which in this third season will be Young Justice Outsiders. And that's going to premiere on Friday, January 4th, 2019. So just after the holidays.
Good.
And so I was thinking, if you want, we could cover this because there's a lot of Titans characters that are going to be featured in this episode or this series.
Yeah, I
don't know if you watched the Young Justice animated series at all.
I did. I watched the first season and liked it a lot. The second season kind of had the time jump, right?
Right, and, it was Young Justice Invasion was the second season. Yeah.
And enjoyed that as well. So yeah, let's at least talk about it, and we'll decide if it's worth covering every week.
Well, we at least cover the first episode and see how it goes.
Yeah, and then do we do it weekly, or we do it just on every couple of weeks or something? We'll see how much depth we have to talk about. But yeah, totally agree.
But there's a lot of Titans characters, and there's like Nightwing, there's the Connor Kent Superboy.
Yeah.
Aqualad, the second Aqualad, Kid Flash, Bart Allen, Bart Allen Kid Flash. We've got Cheshire is going to be in this, so there's obviously Titans connections with this. So it's good. I think it's very relevant to what we talk about, and again, it's also on DC Universe. So it would help us help fill the gap between now and the Doom Patrol series. So,
absolutely.
All right. Now we did get a couple of Tell It to Titan talks this week.
Yay!
Yeah, so I thought I'd run those down real quick, unless you have them handy.
No, I do not, so please.
All right, so first is the return, of course, DJ Nick from Milan, Italy. So hello, Nick, once again.
Thank you, Nick, yes.
One of our increasingly loyal listeners, so cheers to Nick.
Absolutely.
And he's interacting with us on Facebook and everything, so that's great. It says, Dear Jesse and Charles, what can one say after watching Together? So he's talking about the previous episode. Well, it was a joyride of thrills, chills, and kills, without a doubt. So fast-paced, I found myself bummed by the time the episode was over and was left wanting more. There's an incredible chemistry between our Fab Four, and though I feel that the writers could have given Anna Diop and Brenton Thwaites a little more time before inevitably bunking together, the two definitely sold the mutual attraction and sexual tension that had been boiling up to that point. Continuing to love Tegan Croft as Raven and Ryan Potter as Beast Boy is certainly growing on me. I actually will go as far as to say I much prefer this incarnation compared to the one seen in the animated series, which did tend to grate on me more often than not. Finally, it will be interesting to see where this dual Robin situation will go, and I think Curran Walters will be a pleasant and interesting addition to the show as we move towards the halfway mark of this first season. In short, I am absolutely loving this show! !
Totally agree.
Furthermore, I did have a question to ask you guys. Being huge Titanites, is that a name or did I just make that up? I think you just made that up, but that's okay. Did you ever get to pick up the Great Titans theme box that Funko did in their Legends of Collectors line? If you haven't, I strongly suggest you do. Keep up the great work. All the best, DJ Nick.
Thank you, DJ. I did not get that. Did you?
Yeah, no, I didn't, but I was tempted to because if nothing else, there's a great exclusive Nightwing figure where he's in his first Nightwing costume that George Perez designed, with the high collar, and I love that costume. I know a lot of people think it's cheesy, and it is kind of cheesy, but I really love that costume, and I really would like that Funko. But I wasn't sure if I wanted anything else in the box, so I couldn't quite justify getting it. But I would definitely love that Funko. Now, the problem is, if I go to a convention, that Funko is like $35 or more, depending on where you get it. So, it's like, well, do I want to spend that much money just for the Funko? And so hopefully Santa's nice this year. And,
there you go.
Would pick that up because that would be great. But yeah, I just thought that was cool. So yeah, it's not for lack of wanting. It's just trying to justify the purchase on my part.
Oh, very nice.
All right. So we have a new listener, and who writes in with the subject line, Mr. Roboto.
Ooh, good.
So this is Stephen in Dallas, Texas. So I don't know if you know a Stephen in Dallas, Texas
I
or
do
not.
not, but hey, a fellow Dallasite.
And this is Stephen with a PH, not a V. And so Stephen writes in, he goes, hello, Charles and Jesse. Well, hello, Stephen. I've been enjoying your Titans podcast so far, exclamation mark. All right.
Yay.
Having just listened to your latest podcast on the episode together, I thought I would reach out and share my thoughts and inquiries. Well, please do. Before I get into it, I just want to inform you this is the first iteration of the Titans that I have followed. I've seen some episodes of Teen Titans, but other than that, I'm not as familiar with this particular division of DC. I'm more familiar with Batman, Superman, and Arrowverse, so I'm not completely lost, but please forgive my lack of background knowledge on the Titans. No problem.
No problem at all. That's what we're hoping.
This is what we're here for, to help educate everybody about the
Yeah.
Titans. Problem. I mean, everybody just learn right along with us. In your podcast, there was some debate about whether the nuclear family was human or android. I believe you stated that the comic version, they are android. I did. In the show, the new nuclear father is shown being brainwashed or psychologically reprogrammed to be more compliant for this mysterious entity's nefarious purposes. This evidence, combined with the fact that they need to inject themselves with some sort of serum, makes a strong case that they are indeed human. I would definitely agree with you. You're absolutely right.
Yes, I agree.
I would also think that the nuclear family we saw would not be back if they're human, and one could just as easily assume there are several sleeper cell families ready to be activated if they wanted to try again. That's a good point. I didn't think about other sleeper cells.
Yeah, and and I still have a slight. I haven't given up my thought of that. Their kind of their mind or their
Right.
their programming is programmed into
The cloud.
up to the cloud, and then you're downloaded into this human
new
body.
bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's more like, is it kind of like maybe like a cyberpunk type situation where you have humans augmented with technology, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of hitting the that crossover between human and technology.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. So Stephen continues. He says, a question I had about the new Robin, Jason Todd. As you've stated in the comics that Todd was the more violent one compared to Grayson, could it be possible that the writers might have switched these two personas? Well, as we found out in this episode, no, they just made Dick a little worse and Jason a little worse.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure what the implications would have, as I've not followed the story of Jason or a story of Robin closely. I was just wondering if that could be an easy explanation as to why Grayson is so violent. Well, I think in this episode that Jason Todd that we just covered, I think it gives a little more insight about why Dick has been acting the way he has been.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they did a great job of showing that.
Yeah. Last question. Although Grayson seems to appear to be very violent, he often states he had left his previous partner, Batman, for a number of reasons. They all seem to be in regards to Batman, quote, taking things too far, unquote, in one way or another. I'm just wondering if you think the Titans version of Batman is similar to the Snyderverse Batman, who is far more violent and unforgiving. Considering how violent Grayson is, I'm just trying to imagine a universe where Batman is even worse. It's possible they could be thinking the Snyderverse Batman. I hope not, but it's possible the way they've depicted Batman so far.
Yeah, it could be.
Could be. Anyways, thanks for reading my very long email. I'd love to hear your thoughts and answers to any of my questions or theories. I will definitely leave a review, yay, and try to promote your podcast, as I feel it is the best Titans podcast out there today.
Aw, thank you.
You're awesome, Stephen. Keep up the great work, he says. So cheers to Stephen for that, and thanks for calling us the best Titans podcast out there today. So hopefully other people feel that way as well, and we're trying hard to be. So if we're not, let us know what you think. What should we be doing? So yeah, please do that. So if you want to be like DJ Nick and Stephen, and please do, You can contact us here at TitanTalkCast@gmail.com. That's TitanTalkCast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think, and or what you're looking forward to, what you think of the series. And otherwise, you can reach us on the Twitter machine at Titan Talkcast, or on Facebook at Titan Talk, the Titans Podcast. So, Jesse, where can they reach you on the interwebs?
I can be reached at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter.
Right.
I can be found on Facebook, Jesse Jackson in Louisville, Texas.
Yes.
You can hear Charles and I talk about the long-running, wonderful Doctor Who.
Right.
That is going through a wonderful new season.
Yep, and we would just be hitting its 55th anniversary later this week.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep. On November 23rd.
Yes, and if you want, if you want to hear me talk about music, I am on Set Listing Bruce, where we talk to people that are Bruce Springsteen fans, and we're doing a series of episodes, Tea Time with Terry, which I have Terry Smith from Scotland joins me, and we have a guest go through their musical biography by picking a different song from every decade they've been alive. And
That's
we're
cool.
hoping to get Mr. Skaggs on sometime to discuss that. Yes, I think you would be as diverse as your musical tastes are.
Right.
I bet you could, and as you're a wonderful writer, I bet you could come up with a really good story of weaving the songs on the decade. So.
Well, I think you could maybe persuade me to do that. So.
Yeah.
I would certainly be open to that. So.
Good. And Charles, how about you?
As for me, you can reach me on Twitter at Charles Skaggs or Instagram at Charles Skaggs. Facebook, of course, at Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio. And my blog of geeky things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot, as Jesse enjoys his now cooled off coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, where Damn Good Coffee and Hot, where I talk about all the things we talk about here on Titan Talk, the Titans, Young Justice, Doom Patrol, and any comic book sci-fi news that comes down the pike. Lots of great information coming out recently. And news of my other podcasts that I do for Southgate Media, including the aforementioned Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast that I do with you, Jesse, or the Fandom Zone podcast that I do with friend of the show, Curran Lindsay, where we talk about comic book shows on TV. So if you enjoy what we do here in Titan Talk, you might want to give Fandom Zone a listen, because we kind of do the same thing, but for other shows like the Arrowverse shows or Daredevil, you name it. And Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast that I do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic book artist Chris Sprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks and David Lynch and other cool stuff that we end up digressing on from time to time.
Very nice.
So please check that out. And again, if you want to be like Steven, you want to leave us a review on iTunes, Apple iTunes, we would definitely appreciate that, because that helps people find us on Apple Podcasts, and that would definitely be appreciated. So Steven, thanks for doing that, and we look forward to reading your review. I know I will, and I'm sure Jesse will, and everybody else, I hope you do that as well. We definitely appreciate it. So next time on Titan Talk, as we try to wrap this up, we're going to talk about Asylum, the 7th episode of Titan Season 1, where the Titans are going to set out to rescue Rachel's birth mother from a mysterious psychiatric facility, but find themselves confronting their deepest vulnerabilities and fears in the process. So it sounds ominous, kids. Yeah. So Jesse, anything else before we sign off?
No, not at all. We looking forward to it. This should be fun. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, listeners.
Yep. Thank you, Jesse. I love talking Titans with you, and I can't wait to talk about next week's episode. I want to hear already. So everybody, come on back next week, episode 7, Asylum. It's going to be good, and we will see you right here next time on Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. Goodbye, everybody.